This is Eric with WAAT. Today I'm going to be showing you how to assemble the Paraflex Typo 2x21. First off, before you get started with any dry fitting or anything like that, I would recommend installing all your T-nuts into your baffle. Make sure you install the T-nuts with the dado facing up, because this will be the innermost baffle that you would then attach the drivers to. Same thing goes for the front piece. Install the T-nuts on the side that there is a little dado. And then also the two sides will get some T-nuts for the feet and the bottom of the cabinet. All right, once you get all the T-nuts installed, you'll want to watch this video and don't apply any glue, but you may want to apply a couple screws or a screw per panel, and you'll want to dry fit the cabinet together to make sure that you're familiar with how it goes together and just to make sure that everything is fitting as it should. Okay, now the first step after you've dry fitted, confirm that everything is fitting nicely. We'll want to attach the two baffles together. Again, make sure that you have the one baffle with the T-nuts facing out. I normally put this facing up because I use a brad nailer to attach the baffles together. So I like to just have the brad nails come from the back side to, you know, make the front of the cabinet that you may see that there's less body work you'd have to do. So go ahead and just get some of your glue, Type Bond 3. Now that we got the glue, you know, nicely evenly spread across the baffles, then we'll go ahead and line these up. Now the way we get this cabinet together, the top of them will be in line, but the bottom of the baffle, one is longer than the other. So you'll want to just line up all the edges besides the bottom, because it only dados into one section of that. And tack a corner and another one, again verifying that the piece hasn't shifted. Also, when brad nailing, it does help to put a little bit of an angle on it because the brad nail doesn't have a large head on it, so putting it in sideways will help give it a little more grip. And when shooting the brad nail, it helps to put it in at an angle because the head there's no real head on that. That way it gives it a nice grab. Also, make sure you're not shooting diagonally too close to the edge because it will shoot the nail out the side. So make sure you're just positioning it in, you know, where the nail will go, you know, in the middle of the board. All right, so now once you have the two baffles attached, you're gonna wanna get the baffle brace, and that will go right here. And we'll want to attach the baffle to this. Also, this will be going through more than one layer of wood, so we use a 2-inch screw to get these pieces together. And also, we just use the bottom as a template, so we don't want to glue anything into the bottom. We're just going to glue the internal pieces together first, and we'll come back to attach this later. And when putting it together, you'll want to make sure that these pieces are fitting flush and that you don't have it, you know, pushed a little bit too far forward or leaning back. A good indication is when this is sitting flat. Granted, this piece is double wide, so it wants to kind of sit in there naturally that way. But just making sure that this piece is fitting nice and flush before you start to pilot drill anything. I normally put one screw in there first, and then I'll drill the rest of them out, so that way it's held in the correct position. After you have the baffle attached to the baffle brace, you'll want to take the long tune resonator port piece, and we'll attach that to the baffle brace. Make sure that this is, you know, sitting relatively flush. Again, I like to put one screw into the board, then drill the rest out. All right, the next step on this particular build is we do have a pole mount in the top of this cabinet. So we're gonna attach the pole mount brace to the top of the cabinet. So just apply some glue. All right, once you apply some glue, going to try to get it centered. I have a couple pieces of hardware that I'll install in there to get the position right and to hold it together. And apply a couple brad nails. All right, next we're going to attach the top to the baffles. So go ahead and apply glue to that slot there. All right, now that we have the top attached to the baffle, we're gonna go ahead and attach the rear braces to the top and to the port divider. So we'll go ahead and apply glue. I'm just gonna apply glue to one brace at a time. I find it's easier to do the bottom brace first. And I like to go ahead and attach this brace to the top first. And before you want to attach the pieces here, you just maybe want to make sure that, you know, this piece is where it needs to be and that this is flush in the dado, so that way this piece doesn't stick out. Everything seems to be fitting nicely, so I can go ahead and spin the cabinet around and attach these. All right, next I'm gonna go ahead and attach the other brace that goes up above it. All right, once you get the brace attached to the top, you'll then want to attach it to the back piece, just like you did the other one. Now that we have the rear braces attached to their two sides, we're gonna wanna attach the back. So just keep in mind that we'll only want to glue this partial dado here for these braces. We'll then add glue later for these bottom braces here. Also, keep in mind you'll wanna add some glue to this top piece here where the back meets. All right, once you get the pieces glued up, you'll want to go ahead and try to get it in position. This sometimes does take a little bit of persuasion with a hammer. Pretty much on the piece. I like to put two of the screws here to pull this corner together. Once you got a couple screws here, you'll want to attach the top to the back. I'm gonna grab a clamp to help me with this situation. Now I have my clamp holding it nice and flush there. I'm gonna move the clamp down to the next section. All right, once you have this corner secure, you can start working your way down the rest of the cabinet. Now that we have the back attached to the top and to the braces here, we are now going to attach the mouth brace. This attaches to the baffles and the low tune resonator divider. On this particular piece, you want to add glue on this for the back baffle, and you'll want to put some glue along this edge that doesn't have a dado for the front baffle. Also, this piece sometimes needs a little bit of persuasion with the hammer, getting it seated down there in the dado just right. Okay, now that we have the mouth brace attached to the baffle and the low tune resonator divider, we'll go ahead and grab the bottom braces and get those attached. Again, I normally start with one brace at a time. It's the bottom one and then work my way up. Yeah, once you have this brace in here, I normally like to put a screw here, make sure that this is sitting flush. That'll make this part go together the way it should. And now we're just going to repeat that same process with this upper brace here. So on this portion of the cabinet, you know, you might want to be a little more careful with your glue, cleaning up on any of that. That way you can get your paint job in here nice without having any of these glue runs in there that you have to sand away. The other portions of the cabinet, nobody's gonna see that, so you don't have to be as clean with your glue squeeze and cleaning that up afterwards. All right, the next piece we're gonna attach is the front to the top and to these mouth brace pieces that come up towards the front. We'll only want to put glue on those little dado channels there and on this top here. All right, I'm going to attach the top to the front here. All right, then next we're going to want to go ahead and attach these braces from the mouth brace that come up towards the front. Screwing this together, I like to try to push this down to make sure that they're lining up flush. We'll want to attach the one of the sides. I normally like to run the sander over any of the joints, and also I like to just take a little bit of this edge off and makes it so there's not a hard corner trying to go into the dado. It makes the side go on a lot easier. Now that we have all the internal pieces in there screwed together, we're going to go ahead and attach one of the sides. So you'll want to glue up all the dado channels on this, even the ones for the little braces. These are just little strips of wood. And once we get it on the top, we'll want to attach those first, and then we'll work our way and attach the whole side to all the internal pieces.
Everything with the bottom.
With the
these along the bottom.
Now that we have glue and all the dados, we're going to go ahead and put this piece into place. Now that the top is on here, we're going to go ahead and attach these little braces in here. All right, now that we have this side attached, we're gonna go ahead and slide this cabinet over, flip it up, switch ends. Just keep in mind when you go to flip it that this piece has not been attached. So once you normally get it up onto its face, I normally pull that side off, then complete the flip, and then go ahead and prep that next side and get that attached. So again, once you get the cabinet flipped over, we're gonna go ahead and prep these seams here, make sure they're flat, and just take this edge off here to make the side go on easier. All right, once you have the other side in place, you want to attach these smaller braces first. Okay. All right, now that we have both sides attached to this cabinet, we are pretty much done with it. We normally leave the bottom off of it. This helps us be able to spray inside of the cabinet and get all these edges with, you know, paint. And then we would attach the bottom board last. Last thing that we would need to glue into place are these X braces in the back of the access panel. Let me just... All right, now that we have those braces attached to the access panel, we are pretty much done for now. Let's put this into place so you can see what it looks like done. This particular version does have a grill on it. Not all of ours come with a grill. That's an option that you can choose. So next up would be, you know, doing all your filler work, you know, using your trim bit to trim off any excess edge and rounding over it. Then once you get the inside of this painted, you know, then you would attach the bottom last, which again, just kind of following suit, applying your glue, pilot drilling, and screwing it into place. And then you can do your final exterior, you know, finishing, and then you'd be ready for loading and doing all that. I guess that'll wrap it up for this build. We'll have some continuing series on this. We'll probably make a video touching on loading of the drivers and wiring and all those other aspects once you get all the finishing work done.